in March, we did the biopsy. On Monday morning, we had an appointment again with the lung specialist. I took him back to the lung specialist, and then that's when my husband asked, is there anything you can do? And he had to tell him no. He could not operate, and where it was, there was no treatments. And he told him he had approximately 3 months to live. And I looked at my husband then, and the look on his face, I shall never forget. He just looked so pitiful. And then that's when the lung specialist said, I'm going to hook you up with hospice. By the time we got home, I looked and someone had called. And I listened to my answering machine, and it was already Four Seasons. So the next day, Four Seasons came. The nurse came. She was so wonderful. And like I say, I really look forward to their visits, because my friends didn't come around because I guess they didn't know what to say. The point is, they didn't have to say anything. Just be there. Just say, I'm here. If you need me for anything, call me. I think that's an important thing to get across, is friends need to stand behind you, and even though they don't know what to say, they don't need to say anything. They just need to listen to me, or listen to the one that's hurting. We was only at home for 2 weeks. Then on Sunday morning, starting the 3rd week, his leg was swelled. And so I called the nurse that they had on the weekends, and she came. And she told me that it looked like his leg had a blood clot in it, and that he needed to go to the Elizabeth house. And so I guess I was a little naive in that I didn't think that we were going there to stay. I didn't think of it being the end. We was hoping he'd get to go home. I was. And she said, he won't be going home. And I said, what do you mean? And she said, I can only tell you from experience, but he is in the last stages of dying. And I can't give you a time, but if you've got anybody that needs to get here, they need to come. The nurse came in, and I'd say it was about 7 o'clock on Wednesday night. She came in, and the room was full, and she asked everybody to leave. And she pulled me over in the corner, and she said, you've got to be strong. You've got to tell him that it's okay to go. You've got to tell him how good a husband, how good a father. Talk about all the good times that you've had. I got right up into bed with him. It was just so wonderful being there beside him. I laid beside him and I rubbed his hand from 11 o'clock till 6. She was feeling of the pulse. She said, ring the bell. And I started screaming because I realized he was gone. And I thought I had prepared myself. There was no preparing. yourself for that final moment. The nurse came in and said he was gone. No words to describe how you feel at that time, other than a knife being just stuck into your heart. And then they called the funeral home, and when they come, we left and went home. Because you're still really in shock. You really can't. You're not to the point that you know he's not coming back. I think God has planned it that way, because you could never take it if you knew everything you were going to go through in the months to come. But after the shock wore off, believe me, I did not think I could live. I did not think I could go on. My heart felt like I had 50 pounds on it, and it would not go away. I went back to work. I made it good while I was at work. The minute I hit my car to go home, I started again. As I drove up in my driveway, I knew I was going into an empty house. I'll just curl up in my recliner and I just sit there for hours. I didn't want to be bothered. I didn't answer the phone. I didn't want the phone to ring. I would listen to whoever was on there. If it was my mom, I'd call her back. If it wasn't my mom, I didn't bother with it. I just let it ring and let the messages come on. This was for months. And then I got this invitation in the mail from Four Seasons to come to a memorial service. It was so pretty, because there wasn't much light in the building, and then there was all these flickering candles. And your loved one, and like I say, they just made you, every speaker that spoke just made you think that they were talking just to you about your loved one. And it just meant so much. And afterwards is when Jane came back over to me, and she could tell I really needed to see somebody. And I said, I would like to meet. She says, just come outside. I want you to meet some of the therapists. So, the grief therapists. So I went out and I met some of them, and she said, just call back on Monday and set you up an appointment. And so I did. And I was so fortunate to get Linda Dunbar. We bonded right from the first moment. She was so wonderful. And that was in 2008 in November. So I have been seeing her since. And then I had started to just come back up just a little bit. And then on the next year, on June the 8th, I got a knock at my door. I was ready to go to work. My daughter had tried to get me, but evidently I'd been in the shower. It was my neighbor. He said, Linda needs to talk to you. And I said, what's wrong? And I started crying then. And he told me Buddy had passed, which had not been, it was total shock. He was 46. And I started screaming, crying and saying, no, 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 not my son. He had died of a massive stroke and heart attack. He had high blood pressure. His death just brought Bud's death so fresh again, on top of Buddy's. And I for sure thought I couldn't live. There's just no way. I cannot go on. I don't want to live. I know God doesn't put on us more than we can handle. But it just seemed like, what else could happen? Who else can I lose in such a short period of time? And still, today, things are fresh. I can drive by a place or see something and it comes back so fresh to me. And the best thing I can do is just cry and get it over with. Some things now that were so hurtful to begin with are becoming good memories. At first, the memories are hurtful, very hurtful. There's so much pain in them. But as time goes on, it's not so much pain, but you can finally get where it can be a great memory.